After years restrained in a coma, I opened my eyes to find something just as unpleasant. A man standing over me with a knife in his hand, ready to pierce my chest. Stop! The man crawls back, much to my own surprise. Using the opportunity, I push myself off the ground and prepare to fight back. Even if the hunter was armed, the sheer strength that vampires possess would be more than enough to overpower this man, who seemed far too uncertain for his job. He mumbles under his breath. You are... Who are you? The man doesn't speak. Answer me! His gaze scans the ruins as he stays silent. We must get you out of here. He gets up and offers me his hand. I raise an eyebrow. First you try to kill me, and now you want me to take your hand? Yes. There was a pause. If you want to survive, you have no other option. My hand touches the mark on my throat. He's not wrong. I'd rather risk my chances with a human I can kill easily than any others. Where will we go? I know a place we can take refuge, but it's a 2 weeks journey if we're quick. Unless you know any alternative? No, I do not. I get up, looking over at the man. I couldn't help but notice his long dark hair that reaches his hips. The length was a bit unusual, but it only complemented his appearance. However, the thing that struck me the most were his eyes. They were a golden color that somehow reminded me of a cat. There was something about it that felt familiar, although I couldn't recall anything. He sheathed his blade and holds his hand out expectantly. Belatedly realizing the purpose, I take his hand and we start walking to the forest. It was nighttime, and the forest was mostly silent, save for the occasional noise from the wildlife. The silence between us wasn't comfortable. It made me feel antsy. I had no clue who this man was or where he was taking me, only that the pressure from his lightly calloused hand was firm but gentle. It grounded my thoughts, and I steadily got my bearings. Let's stop here for the night. Not waiting for my answer, he lets go of my hand and sat down. As he leaned his back against a trunk, his eyes were wary and alert. You never told me your name. His eyes snapped onto my own. I was staring into the green irises, which spoke a clear message. Don't come close. It doesn't matter. Fine, then I shall tell you mine. It's Soraya. His mouth opens, then closes, as if stopping himself from answering. Finally, he speaks again. Zuberi. Thank you for not killing me? That is not really something one should thank another for. Being alive is a miracle in this world, is it not? He gave me a look, twisting his mouth. I guess. He looks away from me, and it almost seems that his gaze has softened. It's a chilly night. Should you not set up a fire? We're still too close to the other hunters. It will alert them to our location. Are they not your allies? They are, but something isn't right. What do you mean? Zuberi looks like he's deep in thought, debating with himself. It must be hard not knowing if you can trust the people who you have known your whole life. But since he let me live, it must mean that I touch his shoulder and he jolts away from my hand. The tension between the two of us increases. He touches where I touched him. Embarrassed by my boldness, I step back to leave some distance. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I stumble over my words, trying to change the subject. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter as long as I live. Is your life constantly in danger? Unable to hold back, I retort. You tried killing me, so you tell me. I wasn't expecting you to be the one. Now you know. Where have you been the last century? Sleeping, at least until you woke me up. Am I supposed to apologize for that? No, it's a good thing. I can finally do something. What are you planning? I know you don't believe me, but I actually like you humans. But the feeling isn't mutual among most of my race. What happened during the time I was away? The peace treaty. Zuberi looks away distantly. Gone. What do you mean, gone? Hundreds of years ago, after you've gone missing, the vampires accused humans of assassinating you. It's been a full-out war since. I pale, anxiety racking my stomach. I whisper, surely you don't mean... The Hunters Guild raised me as a child. My parents were killed by vampires, and I pledged my life to defending my home. He pauses for a moment and whispers, our motto is to restore peace, so that there will be no more bloodshed. What I don't understand, though, is why the Hunters were trying to kill you specifically. What do you mean? Once I prompted him, the words flow out of him. He seemed to be wrapped in his own thoughts, and I listen aptly. Our mission was to find and kill the vampire that resides in the ruins, but you are the only vampire there. You are the key to the peace treaty. If we show that you are alive and well, then we can finally end the war. He wasn't whispering anymore, but passionately talking. He fell silent at my stunned silence. So, are you taking me to somewhere where we can establish the peace treaty? Yes, there's only one place I know that won't kill a vampire on sight. There's a light rustling and a voice. We stand up abruptly. There you are, princess. Two figures, vampires, judging from their inhumane grace, emerge from the forest. They scrutinize me with disdain. We've been looking for you all over, but here you are, consorting with a human. What a disgrace! I hope you know that the others have ordered you to be killed on sight. I bare my teeth at them. Out of the corner of my eyes, I see Zuberi pull out his sword. The vampires seem to be ignoring his presence. They say drinking your blood brings power, princess. Is that true? The second vampire laughs and steps closer. I brace myself. I won't let them kill me. Before I could take action, Zuberi swings down the sword and deals a strong blow to the back of the first vampire. Hissing, the vampire steps away from us both. He clutches his side. The other vampire stands, stunned, as if he wasn't expecting an attack from Zuberi. The audacity! You lowly humans shouldn't touch us! Taking advantage of the opportunity, I seize the vampire's arm and yank it behind his back. His shoulder socket pops, and he yelps in pain. I sneer. However, the other vampire takes the opportunity to try to attack Zuberi, who quickly gets overwhelmed by the sheer difference in strength. I slacken my hold to go and protect the hunter, but the first vampire smirks. Not so fast, princess. You should focus on yourself. He pulls out what looks to be a rapier, but I recognize it for what it is immediately. So they're serious about killing me. An enchanted rapier, made from noble vampire blood. It's fatal to the regular vampire, even to one such as myself. I mustn't get injured by that. Gritting my teeth, I step back and dodge his blow. I resume an offensive position and attempt to strike a jab to his stomach. He only laughs and thrusts the rapier in my direction. I grimace as it grazes my cheek, the sting of magic neutralizing my own. Stepping back, I feel my shoulders touch Zuberi's back. He was panting. Our chances don't look good. I sigh as the vampires prepare the next blow. If I had my full strength back, this will be over. But I don't, so we will have to make do. Give me a weapon, will ya? He hands me a dagger. Thanks. Addressing the vampires, I project my voice. I've had enough of your stupid taunts. Get more creative, will ya? Although you'll have plenty of time to contemplate better insults when you're asleep for good. Back me up, Zuberi! The vampire with the rapier attempts to pierce me again, but I use the blade of the dagger to deflect. The vampire gawks at my newfound strength. Pivoting away from his increasingly desperate attacks, I knock the rapier out of his hand. He scrambles to pick up the rapier. I manage to grab it before he can. The tides of the battle are in our favor now. I smirk at the vampire, who trembles in fear. Spare me! The second vampire scoffs in disgust before Zuberi's sword strikes him again. Meanwhile, I ignore the vampire's plea for mercy. The rapier pierces his chest, straight through his heart, sliding the blade out. I don't wait for his body to hit the floor before turning to attack the last vampire. Cursed princess! Don't think the council will let you live freely. Before he can finish the sentence, I strike him too. The two vampires lay before us, bleeding out. I'm out of practice. My control over my body feels unnatural. It was like I was a stranger in my own vessel. What should we do with their bodies? Zuberi looks exhausted, physically. However, in his eyes was a cold glare. I tilt my head, considering our options. Honestly, we could just leave them here, but what is it? I didn't answer him, failing to feel the vampire's pulses. They're not dead, just unconscious. We should kill them, lest they alert others to our presence. Despite saying that, my eyes glaze over at the thought of dealing the final blow. I may have been fighting to kill, but can I really harm them if they're no threat to us anymore? I'll do it. I feel a light warmth on the top of my head that fades as Zuberi brushes past me, pulling out a stake. You don't have to watch. I must. To close my eyes and ignore the costs of peace is to ignore everything I stand for. He glances at me, his gaze softening a bit, but the intimate second passes and he lifts his arm to deal the final blow. I keep my eyes open as the stake buries into the first vampire's chest, and then the second's. We should go. We still have a long ways to go, right? Yes. We journey on like that for several days, taking a break every now and then for sustenance and rest. It was during this time that I was constantly reminded of how human Zuberi is. Despite his hulking stature in comparison to mine, he still needed rest, and despite his best attempts to show minimal weakness to me, it was impossible for him to hide, considering how close together we were traveling. While the trust between us was there, it was fraught with tension and paranoia. The warm moments from when he fought by my side and offered to protect my innocence never repeated themselves. We were at an impasse, with nothing to push our boundaries. They stayed firm and unyielding. You're bleeding. The scent of human blood was incredibly enticing. I feel myself salivating as thoughts of licking the wounds come unbidden from my mind. He eyes me warily. I shake my head in an attempt to chase away the thought of the sweet nectar of his blood, the warmth that would accompany the velvety liquid. I should dispel these thoughts. If only he knew how I thirst for his blood. Soraya. He calls my name, startling me out of my thoughts. It was the first time he spoke my name, and my head went quiet as I fumbled for a response. Sorry, you were saying something? You've been staring at my wound. Do you hunger for it that bad? I cringe under his gaze, feeling guilty of the crime. Does he know? My lord, I sure hope not. No, I'm fine. If you say so, but I thought vampires could not survive without human blood, and you have been looking weaker. Realizing he didn't know my thoughts, I relax, automatically giving the answer he wants to hear. I will be fine. I hope. After a few more days of traveling, we reach a quiet village, nestled in a forest. Something's not right. The village didn't seem to be inhabited by anyone at all, and the houses stand ominously in the dark. Zuberi leads me to a building in the center of the village. Still no activity. Wait! I hear people! Damn you vampires hearing! A voice appears from one of the houses. The doors of the houses around us open, and humans stride out. Zuberi! Why are you traveling with a vampire? Have you no common sense? Zuberi tenses up at the accusing words. Stepping closer to me, he gets into a defensive position. I can explain. You were always so soft-hearted, Zuberi, but to defend a vampire? Seriously! We've been watching you for some time. I'm disappointed in you. You should stop this insanity at once. Kill this vampire and be done with it. I look away from him. I was strangely calm at the thought of them killing me. Anxiety fills my chest when I think about Zuberi listening to them. I cannot blame him or even them. I am just a stranger, a vampire who claims her goal is peace. He had no reason to trust me this far, and yet he did. I look to see Zuberi balk at their words. It's fine, Zuberi. I understand that these are your people. It would be too much to ask him to betray his people for me. If I am going to die, I will, but only on my terms. He scrutinizes at me. Not understanding, I laugh at myself derisively. What am I even saying? I will not die. I refuse to. Why are you laughing, ghoul? The hunters ready their weapons. Zuberi, tension clearly written on his face, yells, "Don't attack her! Give us a reason not to! Don't you see that mark on her neck? She's the princess. With her, we can finally restore the peace between vampires and humans. Do you actually think those filthy creatures would ever abide by that treaty? Don't be unreasonable. I swear on my life, I will do all that I can to see this peace treaty through. I don't want to harm humans, and there are many like me. How can we trust your words? Your existence is a threat to ours. There is no hope for coexisting when there are vampires alive and roaming around. Do you mean to kill every vampire in this world? Isn't that our creed? Now stop this nonsense and kill her, unless you want a repeat of what happened to your parents." Zuberi's eyes darken immediately. What do you mean? It doesn't matter. Your parents were also sympathetic to those bloodsuckers, to the point where they were a danger to our mission, spreading this foolishness about peace. I thought my parents were killed by vampires. Zuberi clenches his weapon as I gape at the hunters. His parents were murdered by other humans. But wasn't that the reason Zuberi hates vampires? Rather than being confused, my first thought was how he must be feeling, knowing that his whole life was essentially a lie. Zuberi, you were the ones who murdered my parents! It wasn't us specifically, but they knew the consequences just like you when they defended that vampire. Now, it is your turn. The hunters pull out their swords and get into a defensive position, seemingly not sparing a single care for their former comrade. Zuberi snarls at the other hunters. Pulling out his sword, he strides in front of me, shielding me with his body. Let me fight too! Give me your dagger! He obliges with a look of complete trust that was glaringly absent on the day we met. Emboldened and revitalized, we start to fight against the humans. Zuberi and I attack almost in sync. A slash here met with a slice there. For each injury we sustain, we deal one back. The battle is a frenzied blur of movements. When the hunters manage to cleave a deep gash on my shoulder, I don't hesitate to deal fatal blows. It isn't long until the hunters attempt to retreat. This won't be the last to see of us, Zuberi! The guild will know of your sins! It spits out those words, but backs away from us. I stare at their fading figures, covering my injury with my hand. Should we let them be? Zuberi doesn't respond immediately, deep in thought. Yeah. After watching the hunters retreat, I fall to the floor, weak. I am losing blood a lot faster than my body is able to heal. This isn't good. My vision starts to blur. What's wrong? He's bleeding a lot. I am so glad his wounds are not serious. The thoughts of consuming his blood comes to me again. I might die if I don't drink a human's blood, but I would rather die than harm the relationship we have. Soraya! He calls my name frantically. I just smile at him. He places my head on his lap. I'll be fine. Don't worry. Don't lie to me. You are not fine. Could you tell I was lying so easily? Yes. I've known you long enough now. Don't try to distract me. Tell me, what's wrong? I need human blood to live, but I don't want to harm you. If my blood is what you need, then just take it. Your life is more important than mine. Don't say that! I don't want to use you. Since I know you hate vampires and I care about the relationship we have, and Soraya. Zuberi gazes at me softly. You can use me as you need because I love you. At those words, I feel my mind go quiet as I repeat his words inside my head. He loves me? The moment we have spent together flashed through my head. We've only known each other for 2 weeks! But Zuberi, I love you too. I feel so lucky to be here with him. It's serendipity. Then don't die on me. Drink my blood. I don't want to do anything you'll regret. I will say it again. I love you, and I want you to live with me. He takes his wrist and presses it against my lips. Still, I hesitate, but under his passionate gaze, I gently pierce my fangs into his arm. Closing my eyes, he jolts at the pain, making a small noise. He holds me tighter, causing my fangs to puncture deeper. Once I taste his blood, I feel addicted. I abandon my care. I start to drink his blood with no regard for his pain, knowing full well that it will combine with pleasure once the aphrodisiac in my saliva reacts with his blood. His blood tastes even sweeter than I imagined in the past, and with each gulp, I feel my original strength returning. I clench the cloth of his shirt. The aphrodisiac seems to hit his system. He lets off soft sounds as his cheeks flush and his eyes dilate. With his other hand, he caresses my head gently, calling my name. Soraya. Fully immersed in the moment, he pushes his arm harder against my fangs. To my surprise, I let out a moan. I feel something harden in his Why is it hardening? I open my eyes only to make eye contact with him. He doesn't look away, but meets my gaze heavily. Having had enough of his blood, I stop suckling at his arm and lick the wound until the bleeding slows. The moment felt incredibly erotic, and as it ended, I couldn't find anything to say. He seems to be lost for words as he clears his throat. Are you able to stand? Yeah. Thank you. The silence that falls is not uncomfortable. Rather, it's filled with a warmth that makes me hopeful that only good things will come from now on. What should we do now? The person we were looking for doesn't seem to be here. Are you referring to me? An older human male appears in front of us from the opposite direction of the hunters. He was lugging around the wood used for the hearth nonchalantly. At our startled looks, he only smiles. Zuberi, you've grown a lot since I last saw you, and you've brought the princess with you too. What's your name, dear? I lift my head and look him straight in the eye. Soraya, I heard that you will be able to help us. I reach for Zuberi's hand, interlacing our fingers together. He lightly squeezes my hand in response. We want to bring peace. Please, help us, Master Alfred. Come inside and sit down. There's a lot we must discuss. The end. So anyway, that was Till We Can Hold Hands Without Fear. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys do want to play this for yourselves, link to the game will be in the description below. I am absolutely in love with this story. I honestly wish that was a bit longer, because I feel like they could have really fleshed out a lot more about the world, and of course, like, what happens, like, past the point where you actually talk to, Alfred, I believe. But anyway, like, heck, I do hope that they make a continuation of this sometime in the future. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of the day, and as always, I'll be seeing you in the next video. This is Lion, signing off. Ciao.